Greetings, everyone. My name is Chevelle Moss-Savage, and I have the pleasure of serving on the board of directors for OutCT, as well as the chair of the Education Committee. And I would like to welcome you to season 2, episode 3 of Who's in the Neighborhood. In celebration in honor of Pride, we will be actually interviewing Constance, the founder of OutCT. So you are in for a treat. So Constance, without further ado, tell the viewers and myself a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in Southeastern Connecticut.
Okay, how I ended in Connecticut. So I moved around a lot, lived in Boston, lived in Seattle for a short spell. I'm from Eastern Pennsylvania, and I actually met my partner online. So we had a long distance relationship, and commuting so far gets tired quickly. So I ended up moving to New London, Connecticut in 2006 and have been here since, and we've gotten married and have 3 dogs, and all's good in New London.
Wow, so pretty much love brought you here.
It did.
Oh, such an awesome story, such an awesome story. So I know that you have a lot of experience just personally from us chatting before I onboarded onto the board of directors around Pride organizing and things of that nature. Can you give us a little bit of your background there, and then we can jump right into like how OutCT became OutCT?
Okay. Okay. So there's a little bit of history before OutCT started, and I'm going to jump to when I came out of the closet.
Okay.
So in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, I came out of the closet, and it was a very hard experience.
Wow.
I was married to a man at the time, felt terrible divorcing him because it wasn't because of my love for him, it was because I was queer. And it just, I tumbled and deconstructed myself and questioned my spirituality, questioned everything about myself, which led to a breakdown. And it was really hard for me, even though I had gay friends, it was difficult for me to be gay. And so I had moved back to, I was living in Rhode Island for college, and I moved back to Pennsylvania to regroup. And then I, got healthier and had my first girlfriend, and we went to Pride festivals everywhere. That first summer we went to so many. We would end up moving to Boston together, and there was so much in the LGBT community that we just really attended lots of things. I wasn't active in things, I was attending functions and was very happy. And it was Pride festivals that made me feel not so alone. So in the beginning, it was just to make me feel better and not so isolated and so different from everyone. And then Pride festivals started becoming a resource for me. So where I was living, I found, companies that would be great places to work, they'd be inclusive, or I found, actually, it wasn't for me, but like churches, was something, that was open and affirming, or organizations for special activities like games or sports or professional groups. And so it was very resourceful to me then. And then my girlfriend at the time and I moved back to Pennsylvania, and it the Allentown Bethlehem area is smaller than Boston. So it's just like, oh, there's nothing to do here. So I decided to get involved, and I joined Pride of the Lehigh Valley. And there I was a Pride organizer, was also involved with producing our queer film festival with two others, Brad and Liz. We started the Rainbow Scholarship for graduating high school students. During this time, I was also a facilitator for the Haven Youth Group. And we started the Prism Prom, which was the first prom for queer kids in that area. And it's still going on, so I'm happy to hear that. Um, and and then also just wanted to mention that there in Pennsylvania, in doing Pride work there, I realized how important it was to vote. So my levels with Pride festivals changed over the years. And so that was, we have all these issues that are affecting the LGBT plus queer community. And, like we don't have the Equality Act yet now in 2021. So it's at the local and state level that we get protections. So that was a lesson I learned in Pennsylvania, to get involved in local, well, not get involved, but to vote. And then I guess I could jump ahead to Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, you have this wonderful broad history, right, that you bring, and then on top of that, one of the things that what I heard, which is very important, is that we need to vote, because our vote pretty much is our voice. And so if you're not voting for folks who are going to support you and your family and things that affect your family, your health and things of that nature, that's problematic. And so that's shown us the power, we see the power of the vote and how that has shaped and shifted different things that have occurred in our country. So I'm excited that you brought that up. So yeah, so I know that you have this experience from Pride organizing before, and that love brought you to New London. So what made you say, let me just see about maybe a Pride in New London? What happened with that?
Um, so I guess I moved here, and New London ended up being smaller than where I came from. So I was just like, oh, there's no queer community here. Although I did get involved, the New London People's Forum, which was an organization in the 80s and 90s, kind of reformed when I first moved here. So that was weekly meetings of LGBTQ folks. And I got involved there, but I wanted something more. But I was in grad school at the time, and what I did for a senior project was I did a feasibility study
Mhm.
on whether New London could support a Pride festival or organization. Um, the study proved positive, said there was volunteers. It said that money might be a little hard to fundraise, um, but it looked like the need was there and the interest was there. So that was in 2010,
Mhm.
and I wasn't ready to actually make it work, because having done the work before, I know how hard it is, and
Yeah.
know how much time you put into it,
Mhm.
and I wasn't ready then. And when Mayor Daryl Finizio, when he became mayor, I was talking to him, and he had seen my feasibility study, and he's just like, why don't you start it? He's like, I know you can make it happen. He's like, just do it. And he encouraged me to get to start it. So I went about networking and pulling people in from all areas with different backgrounds, and representing the LGBTQ alphabet. And we started the organization from scratch. Um, but we developed the mission together. So all of us discussed what we needed, what we wanted for the area, and even named ourselves. So the name was bordering between New London Pride and OutCT, and OutCT was chosen, one, because of its marketing, you know, like out this, out that, but also because it would encompass more than just a Pride festival. So they were like, so the vision was already earlier, like, we can do more than a Pride festival. So our mission is why we said social, cultural, educational programming. So we had this room to grow, but you know, work on a volunteer level, you know, it requires a lot of hours and you can only do so much. So, you know, we started off small and went from there.
Wow. Listen, you are so right. Definitely, it's definitely more than just hosting a pride. I mean, you know, there are events going throughout the entire year, and definitely one of the events that how I met you was at a happy hour at Barry's Ice Cream, and so we, you know, that's great, and I always, you know, viewers have heard this too when I share how my first introduction to OutCT was I had moved here in July of 2018, and in August, because our pride is later in the, you know, in the summer, toward the end of the summer. In August, there was a, you know, the Pride festival was going on. And I remember thinking to my spouse, just being a brand new transplant, not knowing anyone, but in a very small town. I came from Richmond, Virginia, which I thought Richmond was small, but New London is even smaller. So being from a small, you know, coming to a small town and not seeing a lot of, as you say, visibly queer community, right? That I could see as a new transplant. And when I saw the Pride being advertised, and I think the local paper, I got excited. And so my spouse and I came, and I remember taking a picture in front of like this backdrop. And I also remember seeing Kia. And she had, and I was telling her, she had on rainbow knee socks. I remember that. And I remember her having a mic and saying, "Welcome everybody," and blah, 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 blah. And I remember, who is that woman who looked like me and who is talking, you know, on the mic? So she must be important, right? and welcoming everyone to Pride. And I remember thinking, wow, this is awesome. And that was my first introduction to OutCT, my first introduction to the queer community, and also like my first introduction of feeling like this is a place that I could settle into. So I thank you for your vision, because I would not have probably had the community that I have now if not traveling to that particular Pride event, and then also being decided to get involved, you know, later on. But so wow. So you did your feasibility study, and you are right. It is, when you are dedicated, it is hard, because as a volunteer, I feel like I work more hours for OutCT than I do sometimes the job that I'm paid for. You know, and it's a passion project, right? So, you know, I totally love it, and love the fact that you know, my fellow board members, you know, think enough of me to think that I should be the chair of the education committee, which I truly enjoy. But it is definitely a passion project. How did you decide who you wanted to be a part of this roller coaster that ended up being such a great event?
Well, a lot of the names came out of the feasibility study
Okay.
because I met with businesses, cultural organizations, nonprofits, I, Chamber of Commerce,
Mhm.
and part of that study is saying, who do you think would like to get involved? Um, so most people came from those references, and then I would meet them and find out their interests and their passions, and it came about that way.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And some people I was acquainted with in the community as well.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, so you had mentioned that when you first came out in your journey of coming into your authentic self, that Pride events were very important to you. Is that why you wanted to see if New London could sustain a Pride? Because you wanted that level of support for other folks in the New London and Southeastern Connecticut area?
I did, like my first round of Pride organizing, it was, for myself and healing. And then in Connecticut, it was more for, well, I had this great experience and these resources available to me. Let the local folks have that too. And of course, the queer culture, me being immersed in the community, I value that too.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Um, so I know that it started from the feasibility study. What was your vision for New London Pride outside of just community and creating community? And has the organization surpassed that vision?
Well, I would like to see an LGBTQ community centers.
Yes.
So that was a shared vision. And to me, we're offering a virtual um, community center. So
Mhm.
there are these educational programs, these happy hours, these film programs, these lectures, these interviews of who's in the neighborhood. And it's creating that virtually, even though we don't have space.
Mhm.
Um, Ideally, I would love to see a physical space so all that can come together and more. So
Yeah.
there be a meeting space, um, one area to house all this that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I think that we do a lot as an organization that does not have a brick and mortar building, right? And I think one of the things that we've noticed as a board is that we have reached more people during the pandemic because we had to change everything to virtual and had more engagement. And people were looked forward to our events, and we were able to see people from New York and Maine and all of these other places that probably coming to like a happy hour on the last Wednesday from 4 to 6 may have been, prohibitive because of time and distance. So, you're right. We do have a virtual community center, but definitely I think that a building where people can come and meet and be there. I think definitely that is one of the things that the board is definitely wanting to do and looking forward to. We would love that. I know at one point in time, some of the board members who are from here said that um, the city was like pretty much donated or asking people to um, businesses to in some of the businesses that perhaps were not operational, some of the buildings that would they move in and things of that nature. And if something like that happened and at a very reduced amount of rent, of course we would love to do that. We would love some type of programming for that. So if that comes up, we're on it like white on rice. So with that, so what is your favorite Pride moment? I'm sure you have many, but is there one that sticks out to you?
Um, oh, let's see. There are many. I think an experience that I really enjoyed were the board retreats. So, we had, and I don't know if you're still doing it, we would
Yes.
rent a cabin at the Voluntown Peace Trust, and the board members would come together. It'd be an overnight, and we would make strategy short and long term, and bond, and just being in space with people who share that passion and have done that work. And it's just, you know I can't even express it. It was just such a good feeling, and and then motivator to continue doing it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely yes. So we still are doing the retreats. The last in-person retreat that we had, well, overnight retreat, was pre-COVID, literally like maybe a couple of weeks before the pandemic hit. And so, and I had the privilege of actually being at that one and meeting new board members, bonding with new and old board members. And you're right, that is important. It definitely is important. And so our last retreat that we had recently was a little bit modified, but it was in person. And then also was a virtual option as well for folks. And so pretty much the same thing. Strategizing, brainstorming, figuring out what we're going to do for this year, figure out what worked for, what worked last year and how we're going to move forward. And so and that's when we set our calendar, our yearly calendar at the retreat. And so we had our two newest board members that onboarded were able to be there at this retreat as well. So it's awesome. I think definitely that was the thing to kind of hooked me in, right? Not knowing anyone and then actually getting to know folks and listening to their stories and they listening to ours. It definitely is a great moment. And you're right. Definitely, definitely. Um, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to the cabin next year. we shall see if things continue to be, if we able to slide over this hump of the pandemic. That would be great. So I know, so that's your favorite prime. What about your favorite board moment, or was that kind of like in the same vein, do you think?
Um, I would probably say it's the same thing because
Gotcha.
we're, all together. Um, so I guess that's my pride board moment. And the pride moment is probably being at the festival, seeing all the little parts come together and all the people there to experience it and make it complete.
Wow. Now, Constance, do you ever sit back and think like, wow, I can't believe this happened and I was a part of this. Is, I mean, this is history, this is legacy. Do you ever sit back and kind of go like, gosh, wow, this thing really worked?
Um, I am grateful that people are continuing it forward. I still worry because I know how hard it is, and volunteers come and go. And I wanted to continue. And it's amazing that it started in 2013. So we're
Mhm.
almost to 10 years.
Yes.
So yes, I'm like, wow, it's been that far and it's just grown. I mean,
Yeah.
at Ocean Beach, the festival was just on the little deck and now it's all over the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And and then all the programs that are held year round.
Mhm.
So I'm, just so happy and elated that it continues to go on and expand and new faces come on board and are just as enthusiastic as I was back then. And it's happening now today. So
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we definitely are doing wonderful things continuously. And this is going to, we're in the month of June, and that's why we are interviewing you, because you were the founder and creator of OutCT in 2013 and brought on so many wonderful other community folks within it to make it come into the wonderful organization that it is. And on June 28th, we will be having our second uh, Black and Brown Queer and Trans Vigil on the steps of New London City Hall, and the mayor is going to be there speaking, and will have a wonderful program, and so that's going to be happening in June as well. So excited about that, and just excited to have had this time to chat with you, and to for you to provide me and our viewers a little bit more about yourself and the insight as to how OutCT came into fruition, and also you like sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. And I'm so excited that you agreed to do that, and to carve out some time of your day, because we are all busy, and I sure appreciate you for that. Um, So y'all, listen, before I sign off, I want to shout out our community partner, Zenny Beauty. And as I mentioned last month, Zenny Beauty is going to provide me with a product from their color of the month. And so today I am wearing a velvet matte lip called Confident, right? And the blush is called Fetish. So, all right, y'all. So if you want to check out their website and see all the rest of the products that they offer, we say go for it and see, right? They are a great community partner. And once again, I'm Chevelle Moss-Savage. I serve as the education chairperson for OutCT. We're providing you with educational moments and resources. I will see y'all next month for episode 4. Bye, y'all. See you later.